Well, hello there, and welcome back to Gene and Roger Talk Movies. We're doing a little bit different kind of film today than we normally do.
It's not really different.
It is, but it's
It's not.
a definitely a hidden gem that's kind of gone under the radar. It's called "You Were Never Really Here," currently available on Prime. It is
Yep.
an Amazon original. And
So you won't get it anywhere else.
just be warned that Gene may refer to the starring actor as Joaquin Phillips, which he's done a number of times.
I've never done that.
we have
Delusional.
audio evidence of that occurring over the
That's
course of the
not
last
what
couple
happened.
episodes. But it stars Joaquin Phoenix in a shockingly not Academy Award nominated performance.
Yeah,
He
I
is
think the movie maybe
spectacular.
was too under the radar for
Yeah,
that.
but
But it won awards at different I don't know if it was Sundance, but it won different awards there.
Right.
Yeah.
And the basic premise is Joaquin Phoenix is this, what is his name? Joe? What is
Joe.
Yeah. And he plays this guy with some significant historical trauma.
Significant,
And
yes.
he's kind of.
Yeah, child abuse when he was little.
Mhm.
Yeah, significant abuse from an
He's
abusive father.
soldier in war.
He
and
went to
was
Iraq.
like
He
a
was no, it was in Afghanistan. I think he was
Yeah.
in Afghanistan.
customs agent that came across a bunch of terrible things as well. So lots of trauma with
Yep.
this character, and he also happens to work as this kind of fixer guy that gets hired to recover sex trafficking victims.
Yeah, so somehow he found himself being almost in a way like a superhero. He finds victims of sex trafficking and he returns them to their parents.
Right, he pulls them out
for a
gets 'em-
fee, for a
gets-
big
right,
fee,
yes.
I should say, all cash fee.
Yeah,
And he has a handler that he goes to for the different jobs. Yeah.
Yep, and of course, a much greater conspiracy is uncovered as the movie goes along.
Yes. Yes.
But Gene, where are you at with this one?
yeah, I love this movie. Love it, love it, love it. Top 20 for sure. Love this thing. Yeah, we were talking about it because it's really on Amazon Prime. It's not advertised as horror. I think they under the tagline it says crime, drama, thriller. But this movie is, to me, it is completely horror. It's full of horrific elements. And there are some horror movies that are clearly labeled horror, that this movie has much more. It's much more disturbing than any of those other movies could ever be. And they're just for many different ways. And the theme of this movie, in a way, is all about, it's about our bodies. And one of the elements of horror is the deformation of the human body. And another element of horror is just that it just makes you feel uncomfortable. And this movie definitely clicks on both of those boxes. So to me, it's definitely horror. So it fits within our podcast. We review horror movies. So yeah, I would totally recommend this movie. It touches on some themes of, like, again, our bodies, our bodies are imperfect things, but somehow, again, that whole theme of, like, striving for beauty. I think it touches on the theme of, like, if you're really striving for beauty, there's only one thing that can happen to you, and that's very negative things. So the striving for beauty is not a positive quest. And also the movie has a big theme of death, that our society, we're really removed from death, and it's like been taken away from us. And so the movie definitely touches on that, and retribution as well, empowerment. So there's a lot of things going on in this movie. At the very end of this movie, I think that there's a super uplifting message, is that, like, in spite of all that, in spite of, like, just this people betraying you, bad things happening to you, witnessing just murders, and you even yourself committing murders, there's still
children being sex trafficked.
Yeah, in spite of all of that horrible things happening, you can still live. You can still overcome it. Yeah.
Well, and the ending of the film is very uplifting, very beautiful. I do like how the young girl, whose name I can't remember.
It's
Yeah.
Russian.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce it.
But she basically says, "Hey, it's okay, Joe.
Yeah, she
It's
says
okay."
that.
She's kind of allowing him to release some of that trauma because she's gone through a significant amount of
Yeah, they've
trauma
both
as
been
well.
heavily traumatized.
And then they kind of learn to live again, let's say.
Right.
But this movie is a compact 90 minutes.
There's lots going on.
And there is no wasted scene in this film. It is expertly shot. The soundtrack for this thing is through the roof. I just loved it.
It's just
It
it just
actually
makes you a little. I think it's the music adds to the horror element because there are these horrible things happening on the screen, but then the music in the background is like, like let's like eat a cake, and then
Right.
it's like, oh, the world is beautiful, and then you're watching something that's totally different, and then it's just like this movie just twists reality for you, and it's just
right. And
it's one of the appealing elements of it.
well, and I just think, for a horror film fan, even though I disagree with Eugene, this is not a film I would label as horror. I would be going down the road of psychological thriller, maybe, or a psychological suspense film. It is not a film that would come to mind when you're thinking about a horror film. With that said, Gene's right. There are significant horrific elements in this film, but
Yeah, the governor's throat is cut open.
the bigger issue, though, too, is with the governor is, of course, the sex trafficking ring is much more involved than just a bunch of seedy characters, right? It goes to the highest reaches of government.
Highest reaches of government, which involves the characters are Joe. We're talking about Joaquin Phoenix. Nina Votto is the sex trafficked youth. There's Senator Votto, Nina's father, and then Governor Williams. Senator and Governor Williams are involved in this sex trafficking ring, and they're way into it. And the governor, there's a line in the movie where it says, like, one of the henchmen for Governor Williams says that Nina is one of his favorites, and and he trades these girls like playing cards.
Right.
Yeah, which is like just a horrific line.
Right.
But then Senator Votto's actual daughter gets hooked up in this thing, probably by the governor, and then all of a sudden he wants out. So, like in all organized crime rings, you can't just get out, right?
Right.
And so the Governor Williams has Senator Votto killed. It makes it look like a suicide,
Yeah,
like
little Vladimir Putin suicide thing.
yeah. Oh, he fell out the window.
fell out the window.
Yeah, he accidentally fell out the window. Yeah, he committed suicide. Yeah, right. So Senator Votto's killed, and then the Governor's Williams henchmen they want a clean house, and so they know that there's this guy out there, Joe. They go looking for him, and they kill the handler named John, and it's a cool guy. And again, this movie works because you just like these characters, like Joe, Nina Votto, John. You like these guys. The senator and the governor, they're complete scum. So, but John is killed, and his wrists are just almost, his hands are cut off. And again, you just see it right there, and just blood all over. It's just horrific elements, and it just makes me think you see things in this movie that I'm watching a movie that's labeled horror, and I'm not seeing. So, but yeah, so it's Governor Williams. He sends his henchmen after Joe, but then Joe, again, he's kind of like a justice superhero.
Yeah,
He
him
kills-
and John Wick teaming up would
Yeah,
be pretty
that
awesome.
would be that would be, oh my Lord. Yeah, so yeah, he takes care of the henchmen, and and eventually I think he rescues Nina at the beginning, returns Nina to his dad, but then then Senator Votto wants out, but then the governor kills the senator and takes the Nina back. Yeah. And Joe just plows through these. There's these crooked cops. He fights this one cop. I think he breaks his neck.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, and that
Yeah.
was the bigger part of the conspiracy too, is because who shows up at that hotel room to recover that sex trafficked child? It's cops. It's not
cops,
just henchmen. It's regular police.
cops. Yeah, which
so it's just talking about the depth of this
depth
sex
of the
trafficking
conspiracy.
and it's just it's a movie that takes a lot of turns that you weren't expecting. When that scene in the hotel happens, my mind went to, oh, they're setting him up as the sex trafficker because they just want him out of the picture. But no, that wasn't it at all.
No, no,
And
not
so
at
I
all.
just really liked that part. And also throughout the film, there are brief glimpses of how Joe has to deal with his trauma, or just the fact that the
Right.
trauma is always there. You'll see just 1.5 second worth of footage where he's a small child and he's got he's locked in his closet, or he's
it-
flashing to the Afghanistan
right.
stuff and things like that. So
And
it's
again, horrific images of his has a bag over his head, and
Right.
he's trying to suffocate himself at the beginning. And then as a youth, there's a bag over his head. Again, the deformation of the human form. And the thing in Afghanistan is like, the whole thing's horrific because he gives a youth in Afghanistan a candy bar. But then another youth comes up to that youth and kills him.
Yep,
Kills him.
shoots her for that candy bar.
Shoots her just for the candy bar.
Yeah.
Because you see it, boom, you're shot, reaches down, grabs the candy bar. So it's, some heavy stuff going on here.
Yeah, very
And then
much.
but the violence, Nina witnesses this, and then I think it empowers her. So at the end, the governor takes Nina, I guess, to his mansion. He has a big
his
mansion.
little hidden villa.
Yeah, hidden villa, yeah, which is beyond huge and magnificent, but, in that structural way. But Nina was like, Joe showed me I can fight back, and she gets a straight razor probably out of some bathroom, and she takes care of the governor.
Yep.
Yeah, of course, that could happen easily because it's a straight razor, and Nina could easily take him by surprise.
Right, and I think part of that ties in with the scene where Joe is burying his mother. He's doing a water burial with his mother.
Yes.
He has also, at this point, I think, because he's now recognized the severity of this conspiracy, where people that are supposed to be looking out for us are actually the cause of all this stuff.
Right.
He actually also loads his pockets up with stones as he's going out there.
Right.
And so he's going to basically bury his mother in the sea, and then he's going to let himself
a
just
large
die
lake,
there. And then he flashes to the Nina character drowning there as well. So he kind of says, well, I've got to go help her. This will be, I got to get her out of there. And I think part of his recovery from this trauma, or ability to learn how to live with it, is when he gets there and she's already killed that governor, he's like, oh, wait a minute, you can overcome this stuff. I can overcome this as well, which then leads to the whole scene at the end there in the
because
restaurant.
he tears his shirt off, and then you see his body, which is a very imperfect body, but he's crying, and he has a big emotional moment there. Yeah, that's good. I think he realizes that he doesn't have to live this life.
Right.
He can move on.
Right, because the last line, I think, of the film is, "It's a beautiful day. Let's go."
It is.
It
is.
And they leave.
Yeah. At the end, they end up in a diner, and it's such a twist there, and Lynn Ramsey, who made this movie, really plays with the audience, because it shows them sitting at a booth, and then Nina leaves to use the restroom, and then Joe is just sitting there, and he looks very unhappy.
He's tired. He's
very tired. He's worn out, beyond worn out. He gets a revolver, 38-45. It's a big gun, revolver. Puts it up to the bottom of his chin and pulls the trigger. Blood everywhere. But then the first time I watched this movie, and it's like, oh man, what's going to happen with Nina? But then you realize that the music never changes.
Right, and the customers don't notice.
Nobody in
covered
the
with
restaurant
blood.
notices a gunshot, and then there's blood everywhere. There's a waitress walking down the aisle, and she's got blood all over her. And she goes up to Joe's table, gives him the
thanks,
the
have a nice day.
Thanks, have a nice day. And you just realize, oh my gosh, it didn't really happen.
Yeah.
He's imagining this. And then Nina comes back, and it is a beautiful day, and they both agree it's a beautiful day, And the ending sequence, in credit sequence, it just shows like the empty booth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's super symbolic, is that they both decided to move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I also like the title of the film, We Were Never Really Here. I do like that because sex traffickers, of course, like to prey on some of the more at risk in our community that maybe, oh, yeah, no one's even going to know what we've done with them or if they're gone. And Joe, throughout the entire film, makes a point of, you didn't see me, right? Like one of the big scenes early on is one of his handler's kids sees him entering his house, and he's like, okay, I got to get a new handler now because that kid saw me. You're not supposed to see me.
Right, of course, totally by accident.
Yeah, it wasn't planned.
Yeah.
But so it's just really good. As I was watching this film for the first time, I watched it twice in preparation for this. It did flash me as kind of the style of like a Michael Mann film or William Friedkin's To Live and Die in L.A. It's got kind of that sort of feel to it where there's a lot of like the music is very unique here, but it kind of fits with here's this nice music, but then here's this gritty, seedy underbelly. We have like the nice mansion with the governor, but there's horrible things happening there and all that. So it was really reminding me a lot of those style of films, kind of even from like the 80s, kind of that Miami Vice kind of feel, you know, a little bit. And then
but much better.
Oh, right. Yeah. This movie, the fact that it kind of went under the radar, it should have been nominated for Academy Award for Best Picture.
Absolutely.
That Lynn Ramsey should have been up for Best Director. Joaquin Phoenix certainly should have been up for Best Actor.
This is a great movie.
It is beyond quality and definitely should be watched. But getting back again to Gene is asserting that this should be labeled as a horror film. And we're going to do a little back and forth now, I'm sure. I do not believe anyone would label this as horror. It is reminiscent of a film like Taxi Driver, for example. And
I read other reviewers comparing that.
Yeah, it has that vibe for sure. A little cleaner in its presentation than Scorsese's Taxi Driver, but I don't think anybody, even though horrific things occur in Taxi Driver, even though horrific things occur in a number of films, they're still not in that realm of, okay, I'm classifying this as a horror film. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, clearly a horror film. This one, my opinion, is more of a psychological thriller and not a horror film. With that said, however, I can't imagine too many horror film fans not enjoying this film because
that's a great way to put it.
It is in that realm where, okay, this is watchable. It's not some romantic drama thing or something, right? It's got a lot of the elements that you would want to see, and again, at 90 minutes long. Once again, here's a director that knows how to tell a story. It's a tight story. There's
I would say that
nothing wasted here.
Like Roger said earlier, there's no wasted scenes. I think to really catch everything from this movie, you've got to really pay attention, because things can flash by.
Well, did you catch? Let me test you right now. Did you catch the one that I'm assuming was intentional? So remember when Joe walks up, he gets that new handler. He walks up the stairs. He has to wait for 20 minutes for the guy, and he's mad about that.
Yep.
And so he then punches that guy. He's like, don't make me wait again.
Don't make me wait.
And then he walks out the door. Did you see what was on the bottom of that door, the sign that was on the bottom of the door?
What was the sign?
It says final exit.
And
then what happens after that is that's when he gets embroiled in this massive conspiracy.
Yeah, because with the Yeah,
and I just caught that on the second view. I was like, oh, I wonder if that, because of course it could have
just
been,
maybe throwing it in there,
just random that it just happened to be on the door, but it also fits with, oh, this is your final exit right here, because now you're going to be dealing with something that you weren't expecting to deal with.
Right, especially he wasn't expecting to deal with like the death of his own mother, because somehow he had managed through all of this to isolate her and so that because he lived with his mother, his mother could just lead a normal life, in her house in the Eastern Metropolitan City, whatever it was. It's not identified. But yeah, that definitely was the final episode for him.
Yeah.
And definitely not anticipating that his mother would be caught up in it.
So, Gene, do you have anything else to say about this
No,
film?
this movie's great. Just love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
agreed.
Yeah.
You know, and one of the cool things about all these streaming platforms is occasionally you run across a movie that's like, oh, this is top of the line, and this movie certainly is that. We've spoiled the whole thing pretty much, but it is a
Yeah, that's what we
beautiful, beautiful film. Yeah, that's what we do. And even though we've spoiled it, you should still watch it because it is beyond amazing.
Yeah, I mean, even after listening to us, you'd watch it and you would still be surprised by things.
Yep. Oh, for sure. I do want to point out also that Gene and I had a incredibly lively discussion on the Diagnonsense podcast. We were invited on that podcast with Kurt and Isaac, and it's a real good back and forth between Gene.
we talked about The Shining, the beloved
Yeah,
Stanley Kubrick, 1971.
And for reasons
1981, sorry.
1980. Gene,
Are you sure it's
1980.
80? Okay,
Yes, I am. I was
1980.
in the theater watching that dang piece of crap. But
I was a kid in a drive-in.
Gene betrayed us all by deciding Shining is suddenly good now. And so,
Would I call it a great movie? No.
but anyway,
I think You Were Never Really Here is a better movie than Shining.
oh, of course it is.
Yeah, it's
Oh
way
my
better,
God.
actually. Yeah.
Leprechaun is better than The Shining. But anyway,
I would say no, don't go there. Like, you can't do that. But The Shining is not terrible. There are some redeeming elements about The Shining.
But anyway, that episode I've been told will be posted this coming week. It's Diagnonsense. They should have the header The Shining on it or whatever.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Maybe
Yeah,
next,
listen to it. It's
yeah,
fun.
maybe next week's episode I'll post the little link to it.
There you go.
It is Gene and I definitely go back and forth pretty heavy on this film. So check that
you
out.
definitely have a strong anti-Shining bias.
I do.
I don't know, something. Maybe you got sick that day, or maybe
No.
your cat got run over.
Well,
that
and
day
I've
or
only
something. I
seen
don't
the
know.
thing like 20 times, and it just.
Why do you
oh
keep
my
watching it if you
God.
hate it? See, now we're talking about The Shining.
Yeah,
It's-
but
so
anyway,
let's go back. You Were Never Really Here. It's great.
Yeah, for sure. Gene,
Yeah.
what are we gonna do next week?
Let's,
we haven't had
I'll
any
decide
conversation.
something. I don't want to review a movie like Wolfen again. So
Okay.
I'm sure there are other movies out there that are really great
All
that
right.
we can review.
We-
Yes,
we-
that are horror movies.
Yes.
That are even labeled horror.
Yes.
You know, I'm not going to get into some argument about semantics, horror or not, how you label it. Yeah, just go see it. I think Roger put it well. It's like if you're a fan of horror and you watch this movie, you would like it.
Yeah. So we have no plan for next week, but we can guarantee you that something will happen.
Something
So
will happen.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week. Bye bye.
But